Today, I want us to talk about something that almost everyone feels, but very few people know how to explain clearly in English, and that is stress. Not the dramatic movie kind, but the quiet, everyday pressure that sits in your chest while you're working, studying, or even trying to relax.
Yeah, and the reason this topic matters so much is because stress doesn't usually arrive with a warning. It slowly builds up while you're trying to be productive, responsible, and strong. And before you know it, you're tired, distracted, and a little disconnected from yourself.
Exactly. And for English learners, that feeling can be even heavier because you might know how to talk about your job, your routine, or your goals, but the moment someone asks, "How are you really feeling?" your mind goes blank.
I see that all the time. People can explain their schedule in perfect detail, but when it comes to emotions, they pause. They smile politely and they say, "I'm fine," even when they clearly are not.
And that's not because they don't feel deeply. It's because emotional English is rarely taught slowly and gently, especially the kind of English you actually use with friends, family, or even yourself.
Which is why today we're focusing on stress management, not in a clinical or complicated way, but in simple, human English, the kind you can say out loud without feeling strange or dramatic.
Because stress is not a failure, it's a signal. It's your body and mind saying something needs attention, and learning how to name that feeling in English can be surprisingly powerful.
I still remember a time when I didn't even realize I was stressed. I just felt irritated all the time, tired for no clear reason, and honestly, a little impatient with everyone around me.
That sounds familiar, and that's such a real experience, because stress doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers through headaches, shallow breathing, or that constant feeling of being rushed.
Exactly. And the moment I finally said out loud, even just to myself, "I'm feeling stressed today," something shifted. Not magically, but enough to make me slow down and notice what was going on.
That sentence alone, "I'm feeling stressed today," is so simple, but it carries honesty, and honesty is often the first step toward feeling better.
And you don't need long explanations. You can also say things like, "I'm under a lot of pressure right now," or "I have too much on my plate this week."
I love that phrase, "too much on my plate," because it sounds very natural and very human, like your life is a table and someone keeps adding more and more tasks without asking.
Yes, and when people hear that, they usually understand immediately because most adults know what that feels like.
Another sentence I personally use a lot is, "I need a break." And I used to feel guilty saying that, but now I see it as a form of self-respect.
Same here. And what's interesting is that in English, saying "I need a break" doesn't sound weak. It sounds aware, like you know your limits.
Let's talk honestly for a moment, Mike. What kind of situations usually make you feel stressed?
For me, it's when several small responsibilities pile up at the same time, none of them huge on their own, but together they create this constant pressure, like my brain never fully rests.
I totally get that. And for me, stress often comes when I try to do everything well at once. Planning, creating, responding to messages, thinking ahead, and suddenly I feel mentally crowded.
That feeling of mental crowding is real, and even saying something like, "My head feels full," is a very natural way to describe it in English.
Yes, and notice how these sentences are not fancy. They're simple, but they communicate something deep.
That's an important point. Emotional English is not about big vocabulary, it's about accurate feelings.
And once you can describe stress, you can start talking about how it affects you. Maybe you say, "I feel overwhelmed," or "I'm finding it hard to focus lately."
Overwhelmed is such a strong but useful word. It means everything feels like too much, even small things.
And when someone says that to you, your reaction often changes. You don't push them, you listen.
Exactly, because language shapes how people respond to us.
I want to pause on something important here, Mike. Stress is not always negative. Sometimes it comes from caring, from wanting to do well, from responsibility.
That's true, but when stress stays too long, it stops being helpful and starts becoming heavy.
And that's where awareness matters. Being able to say, I think I'm getting tired, or I need to slow down a bit.
Slowing down sounds simple, but for many people it feels almost impossible, especially in cultures where being busy is seen as success.
Yes, and for English learners, there's an extra layer, the pressure to improve, to sound fluent, to not make mistakes.
Language learning stress is very real, and it often shows up as self-criticism, like, I'm not good enough yet, or I should be better by now.
Which is why learning emotional English is also learning kindness toward yourself.
I agree, and sometimes that kindness starts with quiet sentences you say in your own head, like, it's okay to feel this way, or I'm doing my best.
Those sentences may sound small, but they can calm your nervous system in ways grammar never could.
There's also something very grounding about naming your stress instead of fighting it, like saying, today feels heavy, and letting that be true.
And when you allow that honesty, stress often softens a little, not because problems disappear, but because you stop carrying them alone.
That's why talking matters, even if it's just a few words.
So, as we continue this conversation, we're not trying to fix stress completely. We're learning how to sit with it, describe it, and respond to it in healthy English.
And if you're listening right now and thinking, yes, this sounds like me, that's okay. You're not behind. You're human.
And the fact that you're listening, reflecting, and practicing English at the same time already shows awareness and care.
Stress doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It often means something matters to you.
And learning how to say that in English can be a small but meaningful step toward feeling lighter.
So, let's keep going gently, one sentence at a time, and see where this conversation takes us.
As we keep going, I want us to move a little closer to the emotions that sit underneath stress, because stress is often just the surface feeling, and under it, you're usually sadness, worry, frustration, or something we don't quite know how to name yet.
That's such a good point, because a lot of people say, I'm stressed, when they really mean, I feel disappointed, or I feel worried, or I feel emotionally tired.
And English has many soft, gentle ways to talk about those feelings without sounding dramatic or uncomfortable, which is important, especially in everyday conversations.
Let's start with sadness, because it's one of the most common emotions people experience, but rarely say out loud.
Yes, and in English, you don't always say, I'm sad, because that can feel very direct, even heavy.
Instead, people often say things like, I'm feeling a bit down today, or I'm not in the best mood lately.
I use that one a lot, actually, because it feels honest, but not overwhelming, like you're opening a door just enough for someone to understand.
Another very natural expression is, I've been feeling a bit low, which sounds calm and reflective rather than dramatic.
And then there's feeling blue, which sounds almost gentle and poetic, but it simply means you're sad for a while.
I like that one, because it doesn't ask for attention, it just tells the truth quietly.
And that's often how sadness shows up in real life. Quietly, not loudly.
Exactly. And when someone tells you they're feeling down or blue, you don't need to fix it. You just need to acknowledge it.
Sometimes even a simple response like, I'm sorry you're feeling that way, can mean a lot.
Let's talk about anger now, because that one is tricky, especially in English.
Very tricky, because saying I'm angry can sound intense, even aggressive depending on the situation.
That's why people often choose softer words like I'm upset or I'm frustrated.
Frustrated is such a useful word, especially when something isn't working no matter how hard you try.
Yes, like when technology fails, plans change, or you keep making the same mistake.
And upset is interesting because it can mean sad, angry, or disappointed all at once.
It's a flexible word, and that's why it's so common in everyday English.
For example, you might say, I was upset after that meeting, without explaining every detail.
And most people will understand that something didn't feel good.
Now, let's talk about worry, because this one lives in the mind and can be very tiring.
Worry often shows up as thinking too much, replaying conversations, or imagining problems that haven't happened yet.
And a very real English sentence for that is, I can't stop thinking about it.
That sentence says so much with so few words.
You can also say, I'm a bit worried about something, which sounds gentle and honest.
Or, I feel anxious, which means the worry is staying with you, not just coming and going.
And it's important to know that anxious doesn't mean weak. It just means your mind is trying to protect you.
I wish more people understood that, because anxiety often comes from caring deeply.
Now, not all emotions are heavy, and it's important to talk about relief and calm too. Short, simple, and full of meaning.
And sometimes saying, you're not alone, can make someone feel less heavy inside.
Let's imagine a real moment.
Okay.
A friend calls you after work and says, I've been so stressed lately, I don't even know where to start.
You could say, I'm really sorry. That sounds overwhelming.
And then maybe add, I'm here if you want to talk.
That's it. No advice, no fixing, just presence.
Presence is often more helpful than solutions.
And these are the moments where English becomes more than language. It becomes connection.
Exactly. And for learners, using these sentences can feel scary at first, but also very meaningful.
Because you're not just practicing English, you're practicing empathy.
And empathy is something every culture understands.
As we keep moving forward, we'll talk more about how to take care of yourself through language, not just support others.
Because how you speak to yourself matters just as much.
And sometimes the most important conversation you have is the one inside your own head.
Let's continue gently from here. Now I want us to turn the focus inward a little, because talking about stress and emotions with others is important, but the relationship you have with yourself is where everything really begins.
That's true, because before we ever say anything out loud, there's already a conversation happening in our head, and for many people, that inner voice is not very kind.
Especially when you're tired or stressed, that voice can become critical, impatient, or harsh, and over time, that creates even more pressure.
I've noticed that when I'm overwhelmed, I don't just feel tired, I also start telling myself things like, you should be doing better, or why are you so slow today?
I totally get that. And the problem is, we would never speak to a friend that way, but we speak to ourselves like that all the time.
Which is why learning simple self-talk in English can actually change how stress feels in your body.
Exactly. And these sentences don't need to be dramatic or motivational. They just need to be honest and gentle.
One of the most grounding sentences I've learned is, I'm doing my best.
That sentence carries so much compassion, especially on days when your energy is low but your responsibilities are high.
Another one I use often is, this feeling will pass, because it reminds me that stress is temporary, even when it feels permanent.
Yes, and I also love, I can take things one step at a time, because it removes the pressure to solve everything right now.
That sentence slows your mind down.
And slowing down is a form of care, not failure.
There's also something very powerful about saying, I deserve rest.
I agree, especially for people who feel guilty when they stop working.
That guilt is so common, and it often comes from the belief that rest has to be earned.
But rest is not a reward, it's a need.
And English gives us clear, calm ways to express that need.
For example, you can say, I'm taking it easy today, which sounds natural and healthy.
Or, I'm giving myself a break, which shows awareness rather than laziness.
I really like that phrase because it feels intentional, like you're choosing care.
Let's talk about self-care for a moment, because that word gets used a lot, but people don't always know how to talk about it simply.
Yes, self-care doesn't need to mean anything big or expensive. It can be very small and very personal.
In English, you might say things like, "I'm going for a walk to clear my head."
Clear my head is such a good phrase because stress often feels like mental noise.
Or you could say, "I'm listening to music to relax."
That's simple, everyday English, but it communicates intention.
Another common one is, "I'm taking some time for myself."
Time for myself is a phrase many native speakers use, and it means exactly what it sounds like, space to breathe.
There's also me time, which sounds casual and friendly.
Yes, saying, I need some me time doesn't sound selfish, it sounds honest.
Let's be real for a second, Anna. What do you usually do when you feel emotionally drained?
When I'm drained, I try to slow everything down. I stop multitasking. I make tea and I sit somewhere quiet, even if it's just for 10 minutes.
That sounds very grounding.
It is, and I often tell myself, you don't need to fix everything tonight.
That sentence alone can release so much pressure.
What about you?
For me, it's sleep and distance. I sleep more, I step away from screens, and I remind myself that tomorrow doesn't need to be perfect.
I love that, because it gives tomorrow space to be human.
Exactly.
There's also an important cultural note here for learners.
Yes, in many English-speaking cultures, saying, "I need a break" or "I'm feeling overwhelmed" is actually seen as healthy communication.
It shows self-awareness, not weakness.
And in workplaces especially, people often appreciate honesty when it's expressed calmly.
For example, instead of saying, I can't do this, you might say, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed right now.
That sentence keeps the door open.
Or, I need a little more time to finish this properly.
Which sounds responsible, not lazy.
Language gives you options, and options reduce stress.
That's such an important point.
Now let's talk about how stress can turn into emotional exhaustion if we ignore it.
Emotional exhaustion often feels like you're tired even after resting.
Or like things you used to enjoy don't feel exciting anymore.
In English, people often say, "I feel drained."
Or, I have no energy left.
Those sentences are short but very expressive.
Another one is, I'm running on empty.
I love that one because it compares your energy to a car with no fuel.
And when a car is empty, you don't blame it, you refill it.
Exactly, and humans are the same.
The tricky part is noticing when you're running low before you completely stop.
And that awareness comes from listening to your body and your emotions.
And having language for what you feel.
This is where stress management becomes less about control and more about understanding.
Understanding yourself, your limits, and your needs.
And expressing those needs without shame.
Because there is nothing wrong with saying, I'm tired or I need support.
Those sentences are signs of strength.
As we continue this conversation, we're going to move into even deeper feelings that many people experience, but don't often talk about openly.
Feelings that require patience, honesty, and very gentle language.
And we'll explore how English can help you face those feelings without feeling alone.
Let's keep going, slowly and honestly.
Now I want us to turn the focus inward a little, because talking about stress and emotions with others is important, but the relationship you have with yourself is where everything really begins.
That's true, because before we ever say anything out loud, there's already a conversation happening in our head, and for many people, that inner voice is not very kind.
Especially when you're tired or stressed, that voice can become critical, impatient, or harsh, and over time, that creates even more pressure.
I've noticed that when I'm overwhelmed, I don't just feel tired, I also start telling myself things like, "You should be doing better," or "Why are you so slow today?"
I totally get that. And the problem is, we would never speak to a friend that way, but we speak to ourselves like that all the time.
Which is why learning simple self-talk in English can actually change how stress feels in your body.
Exactly. And these sentences don't need to be dramatic or motivational. They just need to be honest and gentle.
One of the most grounding sentences I've learned is, "I'm doing my best."
That sentence carries so much compassion, especially on days when your energy is low but your responsibilities are high.
Another one I use often is, "This feeling will pass," because it reminds me that stress is temporary, even when it feels permanent.
Yes, and I also love "I can take things one step at a time" because it removes the pressure to solve everything right now.
That sentence slows your mind down.
And slowing down is a form of care, not failure.
There's also something very powerful about saying, "I deserve rest."
I agree, especially for people who feel guilty when they stop working.
That guilt is so common, and it often comes from the belief that rest has to be earned.
But rest is not a reward, it's a need.
And English gives us clear, calm ways to express that need.
For example, you can say, "I'm taking it easy today," which sounds natural and healthy.
Or, "I'm giving myself a break," which shows awareness rather than laziness.
I really like that phrase because it feels intentional, like you're choosing care.
Let's talk about self-care for a moment, because that word gets used a lot, but people don't always know how to talk about it simply.
Yes, self-care doesn't need to mean anything big or expensive. It can be very small and very personal.
In English, you might say things like, "I'm going for a walk to clear my head." And yet, people keep going, even on days when they feel tired or discouraged.
That deserves recognition.
I also love the phrase, "one step at a time."
It sounds simple, but it changes your pace internally.
It reminds you that you don't need to run to be moving forward.
Exactly.
When anxiety, burnout, and healing come together in conversation, what really matters is tone.
Tone carries care.
And English, when used gently, can carry that care beautifully.
These are not just phrases to memorize, they're phrases to feel.
And the more you feel them, the more natural they become.
As we come closer to the end of this journey, we'll shift toward something softer and brighter.
Toward hope, motivation, and rebuilding trust in yourself.
Not in a loud or unrealistic way, but in a calm, steady way.
The kind of hope that stays.
As we reach the end of today's conversation, I want us to slow everything down and let it settle. Because after talking about stress, anxiety, and burnout, what many people really need is not more advice, but reassurance.
Yeah, reassurance that they're not broken, not failing, and not alone in what they're feeling.
Exactly. Because stress doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It often means you care, you're trying, and you've been carrying a lot for a long time.
And when you've been carrying a lot, hope doesn't always feel loud or exciting. Sometimes it feels quiet, like a small voice saying, "Maybe I can keep going."
In English, that kind of hope shows up in very simple sentences.
Like, "I'm trying to stay positive."
Or, "I believe things will get better."
I really like that one because it doesn't promise perfection, it just leaves space for improvement.
Another sentence that many people find comforting is, "I'm starting fresh."
That one feels gentle, like you're not erasing the past, just choosing how to move forward.
And then there's a phrase that comes up again and again when people are healing or rebuilding.
One day at a time.
That phrase removes so much pressure.
Yes, because it reminds you that today is enough. You don't need to solve everything all at once.
I think it's also important to talk about pride, because many learners forget to acknowledge their progress.
That's true. People are often so focused on what they still can't do that they forget how far they've come.
Being able to say, I'm proud of how far I've come, is powerful, especially when you say it honestly.
And that sentence works for life and for English.
Because learning English itself can be stressful, emotional, and exhausting.
You feel confident one day, confused the next, and that emotional up and down is completely normal.
Which is why emotional language matters so much.
When you can say, I feel frustrated, or I feel proud, or I feel tired, you stop fighting your emotions and start understanding them.
And understanding brings calm.
Let's talk for a moment about healing, because many people listening are probably in the middle of it, even if they don't use that word.
Healing doesn't mean everything is fixed. It means you're learning how to take care of yourself differently.
In English, you can say things like, I'm healing from a difficult time.
Or, I'm finding balance again.
Balance is such a comforting word because it suggests steadiness, not perfection.
Another gentle sentence is, I'm learning and growing.
That one reminds you that change happens slowly, quietly, and naturally.
Before we say goodbye, I want to share a few sentences you can keep with you, especially on difficult days.
Sentences you can say quietly to yourself.
Or out loud if you need to hear them.
I am doing my best.
I can handle what comes my way.
It's okay to rest.
I am learning and growing every day.
I am proud of myself.
When you say these slowly, they don't feel like empty words.
They feel like kindness.
And kindness, especially towards yourself, is a big part of managing stress.
Stress management isn't about removing stress from your life completely.
It's about listening to yourself earlier.
About responding with care instead of criticism.
And about using language to support yourself, not pressure yourself.
English is not just for exams, work, or conversations with others.
It's also for talking to yourself with honesty and compassion.
If today's conversation felt close to your heart, know that you're not alone.
And you're not weak for feeling this way.
You're human.
Thank you for spending this time with us on Power English Speaking.
Thank you for practicing English and self-awareness at the same time.
If this episode helped you or made you feel understood, we'd love to hear from you.
Let us know what topics you'd like us to talk about in the next episode.
Maybe it's confidence, motivation, relationships, or everyday emotions.
Your voice matters, and your ideas matter too.
Until next time, take a deep breath.
Be kind to yourself.
And remember, it's okay not to be okay.
And it's also okay to hope again.
See you in the next episode.
Goodbye, everyone.